What's going on, everybody? As always, thank you for tuning in. I have an extremely powerful thing to share with you guys today, and no matter who you are, whether you're in sales, whether you're an entrepreneur and you're in business, or you're just a regular Joe walking around, working in the corporate world or doing odd jobs, whatever it might be, however you ended up here, I want to share this powerful concept with you, and it's something that I think will really change the game for you. And I learned this later in sales. I learned this after being in sales for 7 or 8 years and grinding and hustling and putting in the 14 to 16 hour days, 6 days a week, outworking everybody, putting that at the top of my priority list, not taking any days off, taking 0 vacations or trips throughout that entire time, and really making a lot of sacrifices just so I can hone in on my skill, so I could get the results I wanted in business, so I could get my finances handled. And really throughout those years, this never occurred to me. And later on, after 7 or 8 years of doing that, this occurred to me, and it's something that hit me really hard, and I made pivots because of that, and I'm very grateful that I did. And if I can share that with you so you can do that earlier in your career, earlier in your life, I'd be more than happy to. So that's what I have for you today. I'm excited to share with you. Just before we get into it, as always, smash that like button, comment your thoughts below, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And let me share this with you now. So this powerful concept I want to share with you relates to passion. And you always hear this debate, this argument of you have to find your passion and chase your passion and work your passion. And on the flip side of that, you always hear people saying, no, you have to do work you don't love. You're always going to hate what you do regardless. Anything you do professionally at a high level is work. It feels like work. It doesn't matter even if it's your passion, and passion is overrated. Some people say passion is underrated. And there's this debate constantly going on, especially in the sales space and the entrepreneurship space. And it was a tough one for me as well, because I can kind of relate to both schools of thoughts, but I always valued hard work above everything else. And that's just been a really innate value of mine. And it's something that I had to really learn as I matured, as I grew. And, I mean mentally mature, after reading a lot of books, after getting a lot of mentors, after brushing shoulders with high-level people, getting proximity to powerful people, getting closer, getting into those circles. Something that I learned is, if you had to boil it all down, at the end of the day, success is really a byproduct of longevity, right? So I want to make sure you're following me here. Success is really a byproduct of longevity, meaning you have to do it for a long period of time if you want to be successful at the highest levels. You look at any of the greats. You look at the athletes, Kobe, Jordan, Mike Tyson. You look at business tycoons and entrepreneurs. You look at the likes of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett. It's a byproduct of longevity. They've been doing this for decades. Now, longevity, in my opinion, and what I've come to, is a byproduct of passion. So you have to enjoy what you're doing. You have to at least have a purpose around what you're doing in order to be able to sustain it and be doing it for a long period of time, so you could have the longevity in that space. And as a result of your longevity in that space and constant evolution in that space, then being successful in that space. So really, when you boil it all down, to be successful, you have to have longevity. To have longevity, you have to have passion for what you're doing. I hope that's making sense to you, because I really wish somebody like myself would have drilled this lesson into my 16-year-old, 18-year-old, 20-year-old, 22-year-old self, right? It's something that, again, took me a little while of being in sales and business to really understand. And it was an evolution of my own maturity. It was a result of myself doing a couple of different successful actions to get to these thought processes and then to come to this conclusion. And I want to share a couple of those with you. So if you're sitting there thinking, well, I don't know what my passion is, or I don't know how to find my passion or tap into my passion, I really don't know. I don't know what my natural inclinations are. I don't know what area I could be the best at. So here's a couple different things. There are different ways to try to come to this conclusion. The first is something one of my mentors recommended to me a few years back, and it really helped me, so it might help you as well. What he recommended is go and read books, 4, 5, 6 different books at a time. It doesn't matter. You don't have to read one, finish it, go to the next. Open multiple books. Go from chapter to chapter. Go back and forth between the books. Read one on history. Read one on finance. Read one on fitness. Read one on world events. Read one on whatever it might be, right? Medicine. Look at different topics, different areas, different fields, and just read different books. Expose yourself to different articles, different podcasts, different experts, and see what really sticks with you. See where your natural inclinations lie. See what's within your circle of competence, right? See where you really have an area of passion that you can tap into and what speaks to you the most. So that's one way of doing it. The second thing I want to share with you is something I actually heard from Steve Harvey. I was watching him live at a conference and he was speaking, and I was sitting VIP, so I was right up front. He was, on stage. And I was very dialed in and tuned in to his speech. And I think it was very powerful. It was moving for me personally. And he was sharing his own story. And he has a pretty incredible story as well, to this level of success that he achieved. And to this day, he has, maintained, which is in itself a completely different aspect and something to be respected. But he was talking about finding your passion, finding your gift, the way he said it. And he said, the way you know what your gift is the thing that you naturally do best. Better than most other people, or better than anybody else, or better than anybody around you. What you naturally gravitate towards and you naturally do best, better than anybody else around you, or better than anybody you know, or better than most people on the planet. That is your gift. And he was just talking about how everybody has a gift and you just need to find and tap into that gift. And usually it's a result of your circumstances, both nature and nurture. And along the way, throughout those formative years, and as you become a teenager and as you grow up, all of these different elements that make you, some of the hardships, some of the toughest things you went through, some of the great things you went through, some of the experiences you had, all of those things come together and they allow you to tap into your gift. And that's why every single person is different. Although we're all human beings, we're all the same essentially. We're all different in that way because we all have all these different experiences. So that's, a couple of different ideas to tap into your passion, to find out what your natural inclinations are and where your circle of competence lies. And I hope you can use that to, again, tap into your passion, because you need that. You need to be doing something that you feel on purpose with, you feel passionate about, in order for you to have longevity in it. And in order for you to have longevity in it, to then become successful at it, because success is really a byproduct of longevity and doing something at a high level consistently for a long period of time. And I'll wrap this up with a quote from my first and most valuable mentor, Jim Rohn. I always talk about him, and he said one thing. He said the difference between success and failure is just 1% at a time. It's the daily difference, 1%. The successful person, if you just look at a graph, right? The successful person is doing the right things, the right actions, maybe eating an apple a day to keep the doctor away, quote unquote. Obviously, we have better health information than that nowadays, but let's just take that as an example. The successful person does that. They take care of their health every single day. They study their craft every single day. They do the little things, the micro things. They're aggressive in the micro, like I always say, day by day, 1% at a time. Failure is just missing those things, not doing the right things, day by day, 1% at a time. Eventually, over a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades, 5 decades, over a lifetime, the successful person ends up all the way here, completely different trajectory, and the failure ends up all the way down here. And that's the trajectory of success and failure. It's 1% at a time. It's day by day. And those little differences on a micro level make the biggest difference on a macro level. So I hope this lesson was as powerful for you and it resonated like it did with me. And again, all you have to really remember and take away from this is success is essentially a byproduct of longevity, and longevity is a byproduct of passion. And therefore, to me personally, that settles the debate, and everything else is still in place. You have to work hard. You have to understand your craft. You have to work at it. Consistency is important. You have to have mentors. You have to invest in yourself, invest in your business, so on and so on and so on and so on. But all that boiled down to a very simple framework. That's the framework that I would follow and that I would subscribe to. And speaking of subscribing, make sure to smash that like button, comment your thoughts below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share this with more friends that need to hear this, and I hope you enjoyed it. On that note, I'll see you in the next video.